Okay. I know X, Y, Z. Let's see these things up and running. Up and running. Okay, one is up and running. Up and running. Other one. No, that's anyways. Okay, this is up and running also. Well, of course, that would be like that. Of course, it gotta be like that. Of course, it gotta be like that. Alright, alright. Testing, test. Alright. Testing, test. Alright. Okay.
Hear me?
I keep saying
Categories. How am I? Which stream right now? Some instant stuff. Alright, back to channel. That looks good. Right. Everything seems to be up and running. Shoot. Yep, everything is up and running.
Entrance exam for 7 years, responds that Jin seems mistaken, and states trash is trash. There's no need to dig through a pile of it to know. Jin, looking at the capsule size, thinks he still needs money. Song tells him to wait, and says there's no need to feel guilty because of their friendship. The protagonist gets irritated with his friend, but Song tells him to calm down, and reminds him of the Awakened Beings Act, which prohibits the use of violence against normal civilians. Jin retorts, saying that Song himself said that an F-rank hunter like him shouldn't even be considered awakened. His friend, with a cynical face, questions when he ever said that and asks if he was drunk because he doesn't remember saying anything like that. Jin then sits back down and says it's better to let it go. Song comments that's a beautiful thought and reinforces that if the guild finds out Jin attacked a civilian, he'll be fired. The protagonist responds that he's already been fired and sighs. Song looks confused, and Jin explains that as soon as he arrived at work, the team leader thanked him for all he had done. As an F-rank hunter, Jin followed in his father's footsteps, who was also a hunter. Even without talent for the field, he was proud of his work ethic. Through sheer effort, he was able to cover his mother's medical expenses and help his younger sister, but now he feels like everything he built over the past 7 years was for nothing. Song, his friend, remains silent as Jin asks if he feels bad about what he said. His friend replies, maybe a little. The protagonist laughs briefly and asks Song to buy him a drink, questioning if that's not what older brothers do at times like this. Song calls him ungrateful and says that despite Jin saying that, he's never treated him as older brother. Jin says they'll get drunk, and his friend, shrugging, responds, whatever, let's drink like there's no tomorrow. On January 1st, 2015, humanity wasn't graced with the warm glow of a new year. What graced them was the portal, a portal connecting this world to another. Portals, also known as dungeons, began to appear across the world. Monsters never seen before started emerging from these portals. It was a battle between awakened beings and monsters. Through many victories and defeats, humanity managed to put an end to the Great War, defeating the great demon king Asmodeus. This happened on January 1st, 2020, a day that became known as Victory Day. After this event, monsters stopped coming out of the portals and a new era began. The hunters, those people who can enter dungeons to eliminate monsters, loot them, and eventually sell the obtained items at auction houses. Most hunters were awakened beings, people who surpassed the limits of an ordinary human and were ranked according to their powers. Among them, he was the lowest rank, an F-rank hunter. So, people didn't really need low-ranking hunters like him. After the drinking session, he carries his friend on his back to his house, throws him on the bed, and tries to wake him up by slapping his face, but he doesn't wake up. The protagonist questions Song, asking if he hadn't said to go easy on the drinks, only to notice vomit on his shirt. He gets angry, calls him disgusting, and throws the vomit-covered shirt in his friend's face. Sitting on the floor, Jin says he's the only one suffering here, not Song. Looking to the side, he sees the capsule and comments that he had completely forgotten about it, saying that maybe he'll sell it for the price of a few snacks, but is too lazy and will probably just throw it away. He notices a button on the capsule and decides to see what it does. Pressing the button, the capsule opens. Inside, he finds a paper and wonders if it's a user manual. Flipping through the pages, he questions why someone would put a user manual in something that was about to be thrown away, especially junk like this. Upon looking at the manual, he notices the manufacturing year is 2020 and wonders if that wasn't the year the war ended. He thinks it must be a printing error, as only an idiot would develop something like this during a time like that. The manual contains a section titled Player Warning, which states that the player won't be able to log out, and if they die in the game, they will also die in real life. Seeing that, he remains silent and comments that it doesn't matter because he just wants to sleep. Sometime later, while sleeping on the floor, he becomes annoyed by Song's snoring. Frustrated, the protagonist considers getting rid of that bastard and remembers the capsule, wondering if it's soundproof. He gets into the capsule, puts on the helmet, and comments that it's very quiet in there since he can no longer hear the snoring, and it's also quite comfortable inside. Jin sighs and wonders what he should start doing tomorrow. If someone isn't part of a guild, they have to go to the commission office early to register for any job requests. They treat hunters without a guild cruelly and take a large portion of the money as a commission fee. At least his mother and sister can live well in a decent apartment while he lives like a dog as an F-rank hunter to support the family. He starts worrying about how he'll pay his mother's rent from now on. He wonders if his father were alive, would he have any advice to help him? Even so, he believes he's done everything he could for them. He asks his father to trust him. Gradually, he begins to fall asleep. He comments that he hopes to feel a little better the next day after resting. At that moment, the capsule begins to function, initiating player recognition. Player not identified. Would you like to register? After some time without a response, the system announces that the time has expired and will proceed automatically. A system window appears, loading. Once the loading completes, the system informs him that the player profile has been created, registering him as Kim Tae-kyung. Do you want to enter the world of Miram? After another waiting period, the system again says the time has expired and automatically begins. Wishing you good luck. We will pray for the success of your journey. The next day, the system window remains open. The protagonist feels cold. He wonders if someone opened the window, concluding that it was probably Song, that bastard. While sleeping, he suddenly opens his eyes, sensing something different. He sees a woman next to him. He wakes up startled and asks, "Who are you?" Still sleeping, she starts talking to herself. He, shocked, wonders, "What's going on? Where exactly am I? Did I end up in some bar?" He remembers going home after drinking with his friend. "So, why am I here?" He wakes the woman and asks, "Where are we?" She responds, but he doesn't understand a thing. They both remain silent for a moment. The protagonist assumes her name might be Shinmi, but quickly dismisses the idea because he doesn't want to know. The woman continues speaking, and he, still confused, asks, "Are you Chinese?" Scratching his head, he realizes he can't communicate with her. Suddenly, a system window appears. "You have unread messages. Would you like to read them?" He panics, shouting, "What the hell is this?" He tries to punch the air. As a result, he falls off the bed, landing on the floor. Seeing two floating system windows, Jin, not understanding anything, is confused by the messages mentioning character, Miram, and login. Another message pops up, announcing that a translation package has been installed. Panicked, he asks for time to understand what's happening. At that moment, the woman, still in bed, calls him Master Jin and asks, "Are you okay?" Surprised, he starts looking at her and the system windows, questioning, "What the hell is going on here?" From what he's gathered, he's inside some kind of game and is now playing it. He finds it interesting and wonders how he got into the game, since he doesn't remember starting anything. The woman brings a bowl and asks Jin to drink its contents, saying he still doesn't seem sober. Her name is Wulwa, meaning bright moon. While drinking the soup she prepared, he thinks the game's graphics look incredibly realistic. He knew technology had advanced a lot, but he didn't expect it to be this good. Now he understands why people get addicted to VR games. As he drinks the soup, he notices her staring at him and asks, "What's wrong?" Wulwa sighs and replies, "I'm just confused. Master Jin is acting strange today." He reflects on the fact that she's calling him Master Jin and finds it very embarrassing. So he asks, "What's strange about me?" Wulwa responds, "I don't know exactly, but maybe everything, since you seem crazy or have lost your mind, even speaking formally with me." Suddenly, a system window appears with the message. The tutorial is about to begin. You are finally taking your first step into the world of Murim. Obtain information and familiarize yourself with your surroundings. Confused, the protagonist wonders what the tutorial means by accepting quests or obtaining information to familiarize himself with the environment. He also questions, what kind of tutorial is this? He doesn't know much about games, but he remembers that most involve hunting some rabbits or practicing using the user interface. Either way, he decides to proceed and starts by gathering information. He asks, "Why, what do you know about me?" She starts laughing and says, "That's an interesting question," adding, "I can say you're exactly like the rumors." Jin asks, "What rumors are those?" The woman responds, "I'm sure Master Jin has heard them before, but it's still very uncomfortable for me to say it directly." The protagonist moves closer to her with a suspicious smile and says, "I don't mind. I want to hear the rumors." Wulwa remains silent. Jin laughs and says, "I'm asking because I'm curious to know if they're the same rumors I heard before. Besides, those rumors have been around for a long time, and they won't hurt anyone anymore." She sighs and responds, "If you insist, fine then." After talking with her for a bit, he manages to gather some information. First, he finds out where he is. He's in the capital of the Shanxi province, known as Taiyuan. The brothel located within the city of Taiyuan is called Crimson Flower, and Wulwa is a high-class hostess who works there. As for him, he is Jin Taekyung, 20 years old, the youngest son of the Jin family residing in Taiyuan. The Jin family is a prestigious family that represents the Shanxi province. They were known for driving away bandits and providing food and supplies to people during periods of famine and drought. For these reasons, the Jin family is respected and loved by the people of the city. Suddenly, a system window appears. You've obtained information related to the Jin family of Taiyuan. You have acquired the title, Noble Son. It can be viewed in the character profile. The protagonist gets excited and wonders if his character belongs to a rich family. But Wulwa adds that she heard his family is facing some internal problems. Jin asks what problems. Wulwa explains. The sword sect of Mount Hang is trying to take over Shanxi province. As for internal issues, apparently, the Jin family's third son is a troublemaker. The young Master Jin, serious, comments, "Of course, there are always bastards like that everywhere he goes." He then reflects on what he just said. Wulwa, wait a moment. How many children does the Jin family have? The woman responds, "There are 3. He thinks, what the hell? He realizes that the troublemaker is him. Suddenly, he receives a system message. You have acquired the title, Family Disgrace. You've completed the objective, obtain information. He stays silent for a moment and thinks, it doesn't matter being the family disgrace. After all, it's just a game. Now he needs to focus on completing quests. Since he just obtained information, all that's left is to familiarize himself with the current environment. Wulwa observes his behavior and sighs deeply. Master Jin, I apologize for saying certain things, but you're acting like a crazy idiot. Perhaps we should take a break. The protagonist doesn't understand and starts reflecting now that he remembered. He wonders, what the hell am I doing playing this game? I should be focusing on finding a job. As he leaves, he thinks, well, at least for a short while I had fun. He points his finger upward and says, log out. Nothing happens, and the environment remains silent. The young Master Jin wonders why it's not working and begs to be able to log out. He starts questioning whether he pronounced it wrong and keeps trying in various ways. Log out! Suddenly, he notices the system windows and is frightened to see that all of them say, unable to log out. Not understanding what's happening, he questions, did I do something I shouldn't have? Is it a system error? Or maybe am I experiencing lag? Regretting it, he thinks, I shouldn't have taken that capsule just because it was free. I should have thrown it away immediately after Song said it was trash. Frustrated, he believes he should have read the user manual, but then remembers that he did. He starts questioning what exactly was written. When he finally recalls, he falls to his knees on the floor and wonders if he's trapped in a game world. Suddenly, 2 system messages appear. You've completed the objective. Familiarize yourself with the environment. You've completed the tutorial. Part 1. You've earned multiple rewards. Coming to his senses, he thinks, I'm completely screwed. In the middle of the night, a carriage travels down a path with the young Master Gene inside. He remains lost in thought. For the past 3 days, he's tried everything to log out, but he always gets the same message. It's impossible to log out currently. He's trapped in a virtual reality game called Murim, which seems to be some sort of martial arts game. However, he can't log out, and worse, if he dies in the game, he'll also die in real life. At first, he just sat and waited for someone from the outside world to save him, but nothing happened. That's when he discovered there's a high chance that no one can help him. Still, he believes there must be a way. The user manual stated that the player wouldn't be able to log out on their own, which means that if certain conditions are met in the game, it might be possible to leave. After mentally suffering for 3 days, he found a solution. He needs to focus on completing as many quests as possible to level up. For that, he must find a place where his life isn't in danger and where he can get help from others. Fortunately, he knows of a place like that. He takes a deep breath and thinks, I need to stay calm and focused because that way I'll be able to return to my outside world. Determined, he shouts, I can do it! Open quest menu. A system message appears, asking, would you like to start the tutorial? Part 2? He responds, yes, and asks the system to open the character profile. Upon seeing the status window, he's incredulous and questions, if I'm supposed to be the son of a famous family in Murim, why am I only level 10 and a third-rate warrior? Remembering his title, Family Disgrace, he says, it makes sense now. That was to be expected anyway. He's happy to be able to increase his strength stats. He believes he should be careful when spending his points and decides that first he will allocate 1 point to Chi. However, a message appears stating, Chi can only be increased by training, consuming spiritual elixirs, or using other special items. He complains to the system, saying, it could have warned me earlier, and decides to skip Chi for now. He concludes that he won't need intelligence or charm right now, and decides to focus purely on survival. He distributes 30 points to strength, 30 points to strength, and 40 points to agility. Confirming the allocation, his 100 available points are reduced to 0, and his body begins to glow for a moment. After the effect passes, he feels something different and comments, it's the same sensation as when I awakened 7 years ago. He asks himself, why am I awakening in a place like this? Suddenly, 2 system windows appear. You have advanced your profession to second-rate warrior. You have completed the objective. Distribute your character's status points. He reflects that it's better to keep the situation under control. He asks the system to open the skill menu. Upon viewing the skill window, he notices that he doesn't have any techniques available. He remains silent, unable to believe it. Is this for real? He questions. Taking a deep breath, he says, I need to calm down, or else at this rate I'll end up needing martial arts lessons on how to stay calm. He then asks where he can spend his skill points. The internal state encompasses the structure of veins and tendons, essential for maintaining strong internal force. The physical state, on the other hand, involves the skeletal structure and muscles, crucial for maintaining robust external strength. In his world, he was an F-rank hunter, and the fighting style he developed over the past 7 years aligns more with external strength. The use of magic and aura manipulation is closer to internal strength abilities he could never replicate. Thinking this through, he concludes that it's important to choose something he's already familiar with to increase his chances of survival. So, he decides to allocate 60